Hello, welcome to All Today. This is going to be a different episode sort of thing this week, even though we're kind of fresh off some hot news with the Game Awards. And by hot news, I'm speaking in hyperbole because there was like no news except for Sephiroth coming to Smash Brothers. We're going to be talking about the games of the year this year. Where we plan on doing this in two episodes. The first one will be about various categories and awards for stuff we want to mention, but may not. Like this stuff may also be in our top games of the year, but this is stuff we just want to talk about. And then next episode will be where we break down our top 5 games of the year. May not be next week, but it'll be out eventually. You can count on it. So we have some categories for you, and I think Cheston was the one that made them. So why don't you introduce them for us?
Absolutely. So we just kind of picked a lot of, let's say, we have a very diverse list of different categories. Some are your standard fare, and some are a little more particular for us. And in the vein of our beloved Giant Bomb podcasts of old, we are going to, for each category, list some nominees and then as a group agree on one definitive winner for each category. So, with that in mind, I think it is as good of a time as any to get into the first category. And that first category is a special one. It is the flop of the year, which would be a game that in one way, shape, or form did not meet the expectations of players or perhaps publishers. And our nominees we have listed now, and we might add if somebody gets a nice whiff of an idea. Our nominees now are Marvel's Avengers, Godfall, which I forgot existed, Crucible, Warcraft 3 Reforged, which I also forgot existed, and Pikmin 3 Deluxe. I am going to start because this is something I added right before we started, and it kind of ruined my day. I put Pikmin 3 Deluxe on this list because the November NPDs came out, and this was the first month where Pikmin 3 would have charted, and it did not even make the top 20.
Well,
And
what
it
did you
felt,
expect?
well, listen, every game that has come out on the Switch has had some kind of bump from being on the Switch. You know, even if it's something like Paper Mario, which is maybe not one of Nintendo's most successful franchises. And yet, Pikmin 3 came out and it didn't sell as much as Luigi's Mansion 3, which is a year old. It didn't sell as much as New Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, which is like 2 years old. I would have settled for even being on the list, but now that it's not on the list, I had this feeling this morning, and it was this. I think Pikmin 4 is not going to happen. I think Pikmin is going to go the way F-Zero and Chibi Robo and, I don't know, Captain Rainbow. I think this is the end for Pikmin,
Well, Captain
and
Rainbow
it makes
never
me
got
super
localized.
sad. Yeah, I know, exactly. So this one is just like a huge bummer. I don't think it wins this category by any means, but man, it ruined my
Well,
morning.
you're damn right it doesn't win this category
Yeah, I was
because
about to say.
like it launched in October, and it was sent out to die. Like it got like all of like one ad maybe on like
But
some
it's going to
Russian
kill
website.
Pikmin. It's going to kill Pikmin.
Yeah,
It's
well,
just an HD remake.
yeah, they don't care. They didn't care about this at all. It was just kind of like shuttled out there with no fanfare.
I know, and they just the way they announced it, right? They announced it right before they announced the 3D collection, and so it was like just like a get me by until then, and then when it came out, it was like, we'll just put this out in October because we got nothing. So here you go.
I forget there was something that was out around the same time where it's like, why would anyone buy Pikmin when this is out? But I don't
Well,
remember what it was.
Age of Calamity was coming out in a few weeks from it,
Okay.
and it came out the day before Halloween, and I can't think. There might have been like a next gen, or not a next
Oh
gen.
yeah, I remember because it was coming out like amid the news cycle of next gen. So why is anyone
Well, it
caring
was a
about a
week before
port?
the next gen. I cared.
Yeah, you and what army?
One other person I've talked to, just one, literally one. So yeah, I mean, I know it doesn't win, and I'm gonna delete it from the doc. I just had to get that out there. That Pikmin is dead. Pikmin 4 is not happening. I've never believed it.
Oh, he's deleting it in real time.
I've never believed in Pikmin 4, and now I definitely don't believe in it.
Well, I'll say my pick for flop of the year has to be Crucible. I think that just the amount of money the amount of time, the amount of talent that went into this game, only for it to be, released without a whole lot of fanfare and a whole lot of skepticism, and then unreleased into closed beta, and then unreleased as in canceled. I don't think I've ever seen that happen to a game.
It's completely just nothing anymore.
Yeah, it flopped so hard it was like retconned from history.
Yeah, people wonder if wondered if Amazon Game Studios was even going to be a thing anymore. They are because they're foolish, but
But they haven't had a single solid game to their name after how many years now? How many hundreds of millions?
A
boy,
lot.
a lot.
I think it's been 6 years or so since they really started to push for this. And
Mm-hmm.
yeah, I just haven't seen much come of it. People might forget that the Fire TV, their streaming device, launched as like their gateway into gaming because it came with a controller.
And
And
they
like that, all
didn't
that
it
stuff
have
has been
a
ditched.
third-person shooter with it too.
I want to say that that's very possible. I know for a time, like I remember it was around the time that the Jackbox games started coming out because the first set of Jackbox games, one of the platforms they released for was Amazon Fire. And you started to see that in a few like really small releases, and then, I don't even know if you can get that controller anymore. It's like it's totally that whole aspect of Amazon is seems to be dead, much like their Kindle phones, just gone. Other than Luna, which, whatever.
We'll see about that.
Yeah.
To me, the obvious like top two would be Crucible and Avengers. As much I nominated Warcraft 3 Reforged, and I just felt like that deserved a mention because
Yeah.
one, I forgot multiple times it came out this year.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It was only when I was searching for what games released in 2020 that I was like, oh shit. And I've even mentioned on the podcast before, like, oh, it came out like in February. It speaks to one,
Yeah.
how long 2020 was, but two, like how forgettable this is. Like Warcraft 3 is like one of the most beloved games of all time, and it had a remaster release this year, and no one remembers it.
And nobody
Partially,
liked it.
nobody
Yeah,
liked it.
nobody, not even like, usually Blizzard games, even if most people hate it, you'll always have those Blizzard defenders, but I don't even think they liked this remake. Like, it was lousy.
Right. So it's like a mediocre remake that's going to be forgot the time. So I just think it's more of an interesting thing than a winner.
Oh, it's fascinating. Because
Um,
remember that this game also, even if you owned the OG version, this would
just,
update that game, and you
yes.
couldn't play that old version.
Yeah. Well, that's why there's
Yeah.
piracy, baby.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know if they've ever redacted that. I mean,
I'm sure
I
they
just haven't
have.
heard much
I
about
hope
this
so.
since the beginning of the year when the Reddit for this game was on fire.
Well, it's just interesting that they remastered a classic and it
They
just
just
sucked.
ruined it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I think I'm with Setzer. I think, I can pitch my fit about Pikmin 3, but Crucible is like a multi-million dollar disaster
yeah.
that, lasted. I want to say, I remember hearing about it at a time where I really wasn't following much news, and I was like, oh, what's that? And by the time I came back around, it was already being swept under the rug and then eventually just outright canceled. So I
Here
think that's
today and
the
gone
pick.
tomorrow.
I
Yeah,
think
I
Crucible's
think
a
that's
pick
the pick.
too. I just also want to mention about Avengers. It's very funny that that this game was they were like, oh, we don't have to try about this at all. People just buy it. It's Marvel shit. Who cares? And then it didn't sell that. I mean, it sold fine, but it didn't sell enough to make a profit. It's
Yeah.
Yeah,
amusing.
no
Well, and
turnaround.
the player bases vanished
Well,
because
Yeah,
it's a trend where they kind of I don't know don't make enough content for a game, but assume
hmm
people are just going to stick around because I don't know.
they like the
yeah,
IP.
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I think this game, ever since it was announced, it was kind of leaning on the IP as a crutch. I don't really like Marvel movies or DC movies, or, cave shit in general. You know, were Marvel fans into this? Because it didn't have the movie faces,
I think I
and it
think
came out like way like the iron was no longer hot. The iron was ice cold by the time this came out.
I've seen a lot of people who say that they liked the combat and they thought it had potential and they thought some elements of the story were promising, but I think even those people were like, yeah, but there just isn't much to do. So once you finish the campaign, you can just play those missions over and over again, but that's kind of it.
Hmm.
It harkens back to, for me, to Diablo 3 when it first came out, because there were a lot of people who liked that game fine, but then is like, okay, what are we going to do? I guess we'll play the campaign on the harder difficulty. And then what do we do now? Well, I guess we play it again, but on an even harder difficulty. There just wasn't much there. And, eventually that game found its way, but I think that's going to be a different case. I don't know that I feel the same about Marvel's Avengers.
Well, Cheston, I gotta ask, do you think maybe a year, 2 years, we'll be saying Crystal Dynamics knows?
Um, no, because one, Crystal Dynamics' specialty is not this kind of game, so it's kind of a weird fit to begin with.
What is their
Whereas
specialty? Old Tomb Raider games?
Their Tomb Raider games were great, so that making mock Uncharted games that eventually get cribbed by Star Wars IP holders. So I think they're good at that. I think the problem with this game is, like I mentioned when we talked about this a few weeks ago, is that, Fallout 76 is similar. It launched and, it had its defenders and people who stuck around with it even though there's no content, but that was like a Fallout game. And you have other cases where it's like famous video game properties and people stick around because they love those properties and they have enjoyed them in the past as games, so they think, it'll turn it around. Well, there's not really like a history of good Avengers games, so I don't know that people will be as keen to stick around as they would be for a Fallout 76. I think, if we don't hear about it again in 6 months, if there's not like a big update, then I think it's over.
Hmm. Yeah, they may struggle against the tides of fate like Anthem is, but I really doubt we're gonna see a resurgence for this game.
Unlikely. Well,
So
I think we're all good in saying. I'd also like to mention we nominated Godfall. Not much to say about it. So Crucible
I
game.
don't think I truly don't know anything about Godfall other than it's by Gearbox and nobody seems to like it.
Well,
So,
Gearbox published it. They didn't develop it,
oh, okay.
but if
Well,
you've watched the Skill Up review, say what you will about him, he did a very thorough review on it, and it just looks like a mess, like a technical disaster,
yeah,
a design disaster, an aesthetic disaster with
yeah.
very, very little redeeming quality. And the reason I added it to this list, the reason I nominated it, is the price tag.
Was it full
This
price?
is one of those $70 games.
Oh boy.
Oh,
Hmm.
Oh yeah, it was a PS5 launch game, I think.
Yep,
Oh.
and it has absolutely nothing to show for it.
yeah. It's crazy because usually launch games, even if they're bad, they have some kind of vibe to them, and they'll usually have some amount of traction because I mean, you have to play something on your new console. But this did not. I have not really heard anybody say like, "Oh, I tried Godfall and it's okay."
Well, you
Just
know
haven't
what?
heard it.
It's an honor to be nominated, right?
That's right. It's an honor just to be here. So our winner for flop of the year, you can pop the champagne, Amazon Game Studios,
Did it.
because Crucible won its award.
Woo,
That's
woohoo.
that's one award The Last of Us 2 didn't win. Take that.
There we go. Well, here's another award Last of Us 2 almost certainly won't win, which is the Clubhouse Game of the Year. Now, let me be clear here. This games from the games, Clubhouse Games, which includes 51 games and a piano. And
Yes.
the piano was not
You did
nominated.
not nominate piano. I was kind of miffed,
I'll
but
tell you why. It's broken.
okay.
But
That's all I need to hear.
well, if you're playing on the TV, it is. But anyways, the nominees for the Clubhouse Game of the Year are President,
Nope.
Backgammon, Dominoes, Bowling, Chess, Yacht, Billiards, Mancala, Connect Four, and that one our brother likes, which I don't know hits and blows.
Yeah, hits and blows.
Well, I just like saying that name, but
Yeah.
okay, it's definitely not hits and blows because hits and blows, Setzer. Since I don't think you know what the hits and blows is,
Nope.
this is a game that is like, gosh, oh boy, how to describe it. So you have five pegs, and you place colors in the pegs, and then you get this thing that tells you how many you've placed correctly. And then you try and figure, oh, did I place these correctly? And until eventually you get to the end and I've placed them all. So it's like a logic puzzle, but it basically is good for one play and then you're done. And it's not multiplayer, so it's probably the worst Clubhouse game,
Oh,
to be
me and my
honest.
wife play it together. We try to figure out the puzzles.
You did?
Yeah, it
All
was
right.
fun.
Well, I'm gonna delete it though.
That's fine.
And I'm also gonna delete Connect 4 because I hate Connect 4. It
Oh,
is like one
then
of
you
the
got to
worst
delete
board games.
President because President's like the worst game in the whole collection.
Absolutely not. You are
It's
very wrong about
it's
President.
bullshit.
You don't.
The only round that matters is the last round.
That's not true because you play. So, President, for those at home and for Setzer, is a game that takes place over 5 rounds, and you are trying to be the first to use all of the cards in your hand, and then it ranks you first, second, third, and fourth. And the rankings matter throughout because first place gets to swap one of their lower cards with one of the best cards from the person in last place. The people in the middle alternate, what they're trading to each other. And so you're jockeying for position because if you are in first place, you are at a big advantage because odds are you're going to end up with an extra two or an extra joker or an extra ace from last place. So it does matter. I mean, I get what you're saying. The last round is where the ultimate results are
You
determined,
know, I
but
won 4 straight rounds, and then I got like second in round five, so that means I didn't win, and I think that's stupid.
what difficulty were you playing on?
I was playing on normal, I think.
Okay. Well, one, you shouldn't be playing on normal because it's for babies. And two, that's just how that game goes. I mean, I don't
Wow,
know.
so you're saying it's just how that game goes, so it's completely
No,
wasted 4 turns, and
no.
then yeah.
You had it's a card game, so you played poorly on the last hand, or sometimes it's a card game, so maybe you had a bad draw on the last hand. That's just how it goes. I mean, that is the ebb and flow of that game. It's certainly not the worst game in the collection. And if you are able to visit for the holidays, I would love to play it with you in person because I've played it with our dad and he agrees that there's a lot of great strategy to it. Sarah loves it. I love it. We just played some last night on the hardest difficulty. So I'm not ready to I doubt I'm going to get you to agree the President's the winner because it's absolutely my favorite game, but I want to leave it here for now. I am going to delete Connect 4. So, Derek, what would your pick be of this list?
Uh, let's see. I would say yacht.
Yeah. What do you like about Yacht?
It's just Yahtzee,
Yeah,
and
yeah, you're
Yahtzee's
right.
pretty fun.
You're right.
So
Yahtzee's pretty fun. And this is one of the best uses of 3D Rumble
yeah, like
because you can feel the dice in your Joy-Con.
yeah, yeah, it feels like you can feel like the cup shake. It feels like you're actually taking advantage of the HD rumble.
I'm
Like
sorry, I said 3D Rumble. Please forgive me,
yeah,
Nintendo.
it's blast processing for a new generation.
Okay.
So
I mean, I'm definitely not gonna fight Yacht because I actually, that game keeps statistics on what you've played. And I think Yacht is, if not number one, it's number two
because
because
I'm
I've
looking
played.
at these and let's see. I don't know how to play backgammon slash. I have never played it. Uh,
Backgammon's pretty great.
I think the
I
whole
don't.
appeal of dominoes is you are playing with real physical pieces.
What
So,
do you mean?
well, I like the idea of like putting the pieces down and like having your big old board. I think that's way more interesting
Well,
than playing a.
so we'll talk about this aspect of Clubhouse games next week when I list my favorite games of the year. But okay, that's fair. I think I agree. And Domino's, I had one of the only things I really don't like about this game is the amount of what I would call aim assist on some of the games, and Domino's has what I would consider to be aggressive aim assist for the player. I don't like that.
All right,
Um,
so I'm gonna keep cutting down. Let's see. Bowling is kind of. I don't know. I didn't really like their bowling mini game. It was
you didn't
okay.
like it? You were so good at it.
Oh yeah, that doesn't mean I like it. I just understand how it
Uh,
works.
well, I think bowling has to go because even though, again, I enjoyed it and it was a lot of fun to play with our parents, I think that the fact that you can only play with two people at a time is stupid. So
Okay,
I delete
I
that.
agree with that. Chess. I know that everyone's hot on Queen's Gambit, but like chess is better played in person.
I'll tell
Um,
you the truth. I made this list so that we could cut chess and
okay.
get mad heel heat for cutting chess from a
Okay.
list of best board games. And
Okay.
I'm
Well,
going
I
to take
mean,
this moment to say this. Have you ever felt like you just kind of like chess because you're supposed to?
oh no, chess is good. It's just That game is way better. Like that, if you're not playing in person, it loses a lot. So
Well, I think maybe a little bit.
no, I
I don't
think a
know.
lot of it is head
I think it's a
games.
pretty good, yeah, but I think as far as digital chess goes, it's pretty good.
Okay, well, it's still getting
I like the
cut.
way, I think it looks nice. I think they did a good job.
Um,
So we're down to
Billiards is
four.
like iPhone game.
Too much
Like,
aim assist. It's a good
yeah,
game, but too much aim assist. Literally, in that case. All right, so it's down to four. President, Backgammon, Yacht, and Moncala. Now, Setzer, you have not had the pleasure of playing Clubhouse games. Rest assured, one day you will. I will make you. Which of these four would you advocate for?
Huh? What?
Setzer?
Yeah. What?
What's your favorite board game?
Uh, what's yacht?
Yahtzee.
It's Yahtzee.
Yeah, I'll pick Yahtzee. Out
Yeah.
out of the options here.
All right, so
I
I'm
do
down with that.
enjoy Backgammon and Moncala, but if I have to pick one out of this list, it's going to be Yahtzee.
All right. So there's our winner.
Moncala has great sound design on the
Yeah,
Switch.
I think it's
And that's
very
some,
pleasing to drop the little
yes.
orbs or
And
whatever. But
that's
I
Well, I
also
don't
again,
know
think,
anything about the Switch versions. I'm talking about in person.
well, yes. uh,
also satisfying in person.
but I feel like Macaulay would be even better in person, like just dropping the little
Ah, yeah,
things
I've
in.
actually, I've thought about buying them on Call board. They're pretty cheap. We've had some fun with that as well.
But I think
All right,
because Yahtzee takes the most advantage of the Switch hardware, it
it
deserves
does.
to win.
It uses HD Rumble, and it's now. Of course, that game is another one where it's only two-player for some reason. It should be four, but
Yeah,
I'll
but if
give
I
it a
pick it,
pass because I
it
like
breaks
it.
the tie and we can move on to the next category that
That's
much
right.
sooner.
Well, you're probably speaking on behalf of the audience. This was a little self-indulgent on my part, but since I made the list, I was gonna indulge.
It was fun. I don't know what you want from us.
Yeah. Well, I really just wanted to, again, I wanted to cut chess, get some heal heat, and use that Futurama reference to get my one Futurama reference in for the week.
Very good.
I'll move
Very proud of
on.
you.
Yeah, thank you. I'm trying hard, working here. All right. Well, on a lighter, or sorry, not lighter, on a much worse note, from the delightful Clubhouse games, is our third award, which is the Last of Us 2 Memorial Award for a game I never want to hear about again. And the nominees are The Last of Us Part 2, which, I don't know, seems kind of like a frontrunner, but you never know. There are upsets. Cyberpunk 2077, Genshin Impact, Among Us, every single Battle Royale, and every single flavor of the month. In parentheses, Fall Guys. All right, Derek, what is your beef with flavors of the month?
I don't like hearing about them. I don't like hearing about how like this one's totally gonna stick, guys, and then they never do. I'm just I'm tired of like people pretending these games are like good or made with some sort of artistic integrity. They're just there for cash-ins. Who cares?
I
They're
disagree. I think these deserve a place on the list. I think a lot of people enjoy these games, but I think a lot of the appeal is it's fun with friends.
it is, but everything's
And
fun
that
with
is
friends.
exactly. Being fun with friends doesn't make you better than anything else because everything is fun with friends. And
Well,
it's just exhausting how they dominate the news cycle for like a month.
Yeah, then they go away.
Everything is about Among Us. Everything is about Fall Guys. It's like,
Right.
okay, I get
yeah.
it.
And what was
Well,
frustrating was that I was out there like immediately saying I don't think this game's got legs, and I remember people saying like, oh no, this is for real, this is gonna stick around, this is the real deal, and I have to hear that every single flavor of the month.
Hmm.
It's
I
just
think
annoying.
these are fine if you are into them. I
Yes.
remember Overwatch. I was into Overwatch, so that was fine for me. I liked Rocket League quite a bit, and so that one I did not bother me.
Well,
But I
Rocket League
don't.
is certainly not a flavor of the month at this point. It's been around for
Well, no,
years
I
and
mean,
years and years.
but at the time it was,
Yeah.
and I'm sure people were tired about hearing about it. And I think about Among Us. Like, I work at a school. I hear about Among Us all the time. I've never played it. If I never heard about it again, I'd be fine. I think the people who made it seem nice, so like I'm hesitant to trash it, but I know that it is something I don't really want to hear about for sure.
for
You don't
sure.
have to hate it just to be tired of hearing about it.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That's true. I think you're right. It belongs on the list. I'm not sure it wins the list.
No, it doesn't.
And what
Absolutely not.
about what about battle royales? Do you that seems like another shot at Fall Guys, perhaps?
No, that's more of a shot at Fortnite and stuff.
Ah,
Um, but I
see.
mean,
Yeah,
that also
I'm
falls
tired
into
of
flavor of
hearing
the
about
month.
Fortnite promotions. I don't care
Yeah.
what is coming to Fortnite this month.
I saw a great tweet about Fortnite that said that Fortnite is the Funko Pop of video games
Yeah,
It's
yeah, I
with
can
accurate.
their
see that.
latest Master Chief acquisition. And
And
I thought, wow,
Kratos
that's
and
yeah,
probably
that's true.
Samus. I'm guessing they'll get one for each. Um, and I don't know, like they had like Ninja pop up at the VGAs during like a Red versus Blue thing. I was like, oh my god, just go away. I just don't care anymore, or ever actually. But
Well, I think battle royales seem like they're to me on the decline a little bit. Other than Fortnite, I don't think there's been a lot of movement, has there?
Spellbreak came out this year, and it's been
What
doing pretty
what
well
the
from what I
heck is
understand.
Spellbreak?
it's a battle
Wizard
royale of
Battle
Magic.
Royale. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay, never mind then.
But I mean, I think you're generally right. I think people have run it so far into the ground that people are just kind of tired of the
Yeah,
genre.
and there's only
So
so much you can do with
Hmm.
that concept. So, I like battle royales in general, but I don't need every game
the
ever to be
problem
one.
I have with battle royales is that when I first heard of Player Unknown's Battleground, I was like, oh my god, they're making like a real battle royale game, like based on the movie. So like in my head, I was like, oh man, so you're gonna like have people start with like frying pans and stuff. It's gonna be so cool, and it wasn't at all like that. So I was immediately annoyed.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Derek. Wait, I know you love that movie.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
so sorry.
bullshit. Where's my Japanese kids killing each other? This is not what I signed up for. So but I think those two, since they're not specific games, should not be. And I also say Kill Among Us while we're at it, since that kind of falls in the flavor of the month.
Okay, well then let me talk about my irritation with Genshin Impact. Besides the fact that it's a giant gotcha scheme, I think there's been a lot of websites that have decided that one way that they can move traffic this year is to intimate that Genshin Impact is better than Breath of the Wild, and I think
Hmm.
that's heinous. I think they should be arrested. I will not stand for it. Their reasoning is always basically that it's a giant Skinner box and the numbers go up, and I am not here for that because Breath of the Wild's minimalism was beautiful. And I just want to say I hate this game, and Breath of the Wild is much better.
Well, I think that gets at, a common theme for this award and its nominees is that we aren't so much annoyed with the games themselves as we are with the reception around them. The overblown reactions, the backlash, the counter backlash, the months of nothing but this, nothing but that, not being able to talk about it without someone piping up, no, actually, and so on and so forth.
Yeah, that's definitely the spirit of the award. And in that regard, I would say the Genshin Impact discussion doesn't really bother me so much. I think the fan base knows that they're being scammed.
Well,
It's
what? No, no, they don't. I will tell you
some of
that's
them
part of what
do.
bothers me because I've seen like almost any time someone says, "Ah, pay to win, P2W game, gotcha scheme, whatever." The people who love it are like, I've been playing 70 hours for free. Like you don't even actually need to spend money. It's you only spend money if you're being silly about it. That just so jumps to the defense of the game and its mechanisms that
Well, I
I
have seen
find
people play
I find
pretty
that
far
off putting.
without paying.
Oh, I know,
So
but I
that's
don't think
fair.
I don't think you can dismiss those mechanics though out of hand just because you
Hmm.
yourself have
No, you
control.
can't.
They're predatory. So, and you've seen lot. I mean, there's all kinds of stories about people who let these things just erode their finances, and I can't. I mean, I would hope that you would have better restraint about it, but at some level, the developer is to blame, and I don't like the hand waving about it.
Well, I don't like
So,
the
Yeah,
hand waving either. It's annoying, but
we don't have a category for most predatory game of the year, but if we did,
that'll be
Genshin
it
Impact would be at the top of the pile.
easily. But having said all this, I think our top two are pretty freaking hard to beat. As far as honestly, it may not
It's
even be
neck and
worth
neck.
it. Yeah, I mean, for one, Cyberpunk, the people that hate it are just so over the top of hating it. Like I've seen complaints about like billboards in the game where this dude like has a gun in his mouth and it's like, oh, are you fixing to commit suicide? And they're like, oh, they should really not have something like this in a video game. And I'm like, well, this is about a dystopian future, and you're not supposed to like everything you see. This is
Hmm.
fine.
It's not sympathetic.
Yeah, it's not you're gonna feel uncomfortable playing this game. You're not supposed to see this future and go like, "Whoa, bro, this
Cool
cyberpunk future would be
future.
pretty sweet." It's supposed to make
Hmm.
you feel uncomfortable. You're supposed to feel skeezy about how they target certain things or whatever. But there's also the problem with people that defend it because
Oh yeah.
this game was advertised as the PlayStation 4 and Xbox 360 or Xbox One game. The fact that it was advertised as such and released as such should mean that it should be playable. Launching like where it has like 30 seconds load in textures and crashing all the time is unacceptable. You should not charge $60 for a game that does not work. I
Right.
have next gen consoles, so they work fine for me. But 90% of people don't have those. Most people are probably like I know the PC versions like fine, but most people are probably playing on consoles. So that for like a vast majority of people, this game is broken, and you cannot defend that.
No, but they
I
have, and
think.
I think every tweet about those glitches, like you had a tweet about one of the glitches, and I looked in the comments for that, and it was a bunch of people just going, "Well, PS4 found your problem. You shouldn't be buying this game on
Then don't release it
without
on
next gen consoles."
PS4.
Like, well, it was advertised as a PS4 game. It was announced as a PS4 game. So that's such a preposterous suggestion. It's not. You can't blame people if it's been advertised so heavily for a platform for thinking, "Oh, I guess this will be all right." This isn't Watch Dogs for Wii U here. This is a game. This is Cyberpunk for the PS4, and for the longest time, it was a PS4 game. So that's crazy.
I think what annoys me most about Cyberpunk, having not played it or watched anyone play it really, I think I said in a previous episode, I don't really get excited for games after Spore, so the Cyberpunk hype machine has passed me by. It looks like an interesting game. When the bugs are fixed and it's on sale, I'll probably buy it and play it. What annoys me most is this is probably the most, ironically, the most consumerist, the most commodified game I have ever seen,
Oh yeah.
where you have people, you know, um, I saw a guy who like themed his office and his home office or whatever as a Cyberpunk 2077 home office, and by that I mean he didn't dress it up as, oh, this is the office of a cyberpunk dystopia. It boils down to just painting it yellow, putting as many Cyberpunk 2077 logos as he can, buying all this merchandise, buying all this branded crap, and putting it all over the place. And that's exactly, the opposite of what Cyberpunk is supposed to be about as a genre. So I think that the rabid fanaticism for purchasing this game as many times as possible and as many SKUs as possible, or as much merch as possible, is just annoying beyond belief.
For sure. And it would seem like people like that are missing the point. Like people that are annoyed with like the billboards and whatnot. Like you're not supposed to want this. You're supposed to like be turned off by the corporatization of things. But people are annoying. What do you want?
Yeah. It's always irritating me when people decide before a game comes out that they love it, and then when a lot of stuff around the reviews lately, before the game even came out, you had people saying, "Oh, this game is amazing. How could you give it a 7 out of 10 or a 6 out of 10? It's preposterous."
Hmm.
Well, it
Like,
reminded me
oh,
of a
come on
Heavenly
now.
Sword,
Yeah,
where
well, right.
where people that didn't play it were like, "What are you talking about? Look at it. You use a
Like
six axis."
you decided long before this game came out that it was amazing, and I have not seen many games ever that have been so prematurely anointed as the greatest game of all time as this game, and
Hmm.
that always drives me nuts because it looks like, what, again, like Setzer said, looks like a fine game, barring some glitches. It looks like it could be fine, but I mean, I'm saying that now after seeing footage. These people are saying this after just like watching trailers for years.
Hmm.
Well, you said that few games are anointed. Well, have I got a
Ah,
game for you, which is the other top choice for this, The Last of Us Part 2, which despite all we said about Cyberpunk, and I was pretty close on this until the Game Awards, but I think The Last of Us definitely wins this
Yep,
because
agreed.
because I am so goddamn sick of this game. One,
oh,
why like it feels like the public had a major backlash against it, and the media betters who anointed it as like the greatest game of all time were like, no, I don't think so. You idiots don't understand the subtlety and nuance of this crazy world.
You have to
So
like it.
you have to like it. So we're gonna make sure it wins every single award ever, even if it doesn't deserve it. Why does a game that has to crunch win like best direction? That seems to point to poor direction to me. I don't know about you.
Yeah, I was gonna bring
I
that up too.
I agree with you. Yes.
And then like the fan base and like Neil Druckmann like getting his drones to attack people that don't like the game is so ridiculous. Like he says things about the journalists like Jason Schreier that like regular gamers would get run off social media for. It's so stupid. So
And transparent.
yes,
Yeah.
it's like it's okay when the big like I don't get it. And they
It's okay when Naughty Dog does it, though.
yes,
Is what it
and they
boils down
hide
to.
behind like progressivism, and they say like the gamers hate muscly women or something. Like what are you talking about? Like everyone loved Ellie. This is not a misogyny thing. They just don't like this game.
Yeah. Now, granted, I was gonna say this is much like Cyberpunk in that there are two sides that I don't ever want to hear ever talk again. There's the side that loves The Last of Us 2 and will actually you about anything you say about it. Like
Oh,
I've
the media.
seen so many, well, not just media, but like fans of the game, players who like the game, when they spout off about liking it, which is fine to like it. I mean, I think
You
looking at
like
some of
what
the
you
things
like.
about,
Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
when I look at the gameplay videos, I go, I might actually like this, but when people criticize elements of the story or the theme or whatever, those people go, well, actually, you just don't understand, and that always irritates me because that's just preposterous. I mean, I'm going to say, without having played the game and knowing the story and the beats of the story and having listened to several spoiler casts and having read the description, like, knowing the story pretty well for not having played it, I will say it's basically just a Hollywood revenge story. So to say that it's like some deep, nuanced take on humanity is just wrong. But even if that's the case, even if you really think it is that, you can't just tell people that, no, actually, you just don't understand. That's just rude. You have a certain group of people who don't like it, who are just awful people, who are just, who are attacking it for the things that Neil Druckmann will say that people hate it for. But not, I would say most people don't dislike it for those reasons. Most people I see dislike it have issues with the story. They have issues with the direction the game takes the series in terms of the tone. It's much darker than the first game. They just don't like a lot of the elements of it, but the discourse is such that you either think it's amazing or you are prejudiced, and I think both sides of those are crazy, and everyone in the middle is just kind of have to be there and shrug.
Yeah, I'll say this. I do not care about the first The Last of Us, the part one. I didn't play it. I do not care about this game. I did not play it. I am so tired of every single thing revolving around this game. I think with Cyberpunk, we're less than a week after launch, and already there's been kind of a reckoning on that game's quality and the expectations around it. We're months out from the launch of The Last of Us Part 2, and we're still having these discussions about, oh my god, it's so great, you have to like it, even in topics that have nothing to do with this game.
Well, it reminds me
Yeah.
of the Devil May Cry remake, where game journalists and the media really liked the game, and the player base really did not like it. And you still see Devil May Cry like defense, like The Escapist wrote something like this week that was like Devil May Cry held up better than its contemporaries, and like, well, they actually like canceled the reboot because it failed so bad. So I don't really think it held up that well, but whatever. And Last of Us Part 2 reminds me of that, where it's like, you did not like this game. We told you it was good. Shut up and like it.
Well, I
Mass
do
Effect
think you
3
under
comes to mind.
Yes, it does.
I think you undervalue the amount of regular folk that like this game quite a bit.
Oh, I'm sure they're there.
Sure,
It's a I
absolutely.
would say it's a huge contingent.
Sony
It was
bronies.
yes, that's what I was gonna say. It is a Sony first party game, so it gets a big bump. I mean, look at the Game Award fan votes. That and Ghost of Tsushima got way more votes than literally everything else. So this game certainly has normal, regular people who like it. They just don't shut up about it. And
Hmm.
I was just I was just seeing a discussion about this game the other day. There was a top 20 games of the year on one site, and they had the audacity not to include it. And so those same people who get on to people who the Gears question kind of people who get mad when games aren't on the list, those same people were going, "Oh man, it's just really suspicious to have a list of these games and not have Last of Us 2. I mean, just on an objective technical level, how could you not include it?
No,
It's just really preposterous." And I'm like, you know what? That's not what these lists are about.
it's all about
And
respecting someone's opinion
it's
until they disagree with you.
it is a subjective medium, and I'm sorry, you might like this game, and that's fine. I probably would like it too, honestly, if I played it. But that doesn't mean that someone who doesn't like it is wrong and doesn't appreciate the medium like you do. That's just stupid. So let us put the knife in this and never talk about The Last of Us 2 again
Agreed.
Amen.
until I play it next year and say that I kind of like it. So
I expect that.
Well, hey, find a like it. I just don't need
yeah,
to hear about it every 5 minutes.
I won't bother you when I do. So anyways, I'm not even gonna recap the category. We're just gonna say we're done with it.
Yes, we're done with it.
So
Congratulations, Last of Us
anyways,
Part 2. Winning
now
another award.
here, oh God, you're right. What have we done? Anyways, on to the most contentious category of the day: best delay. This would be well. I guess you can kind of say what this category is, what you make of it. Either it's the best delay because of what it accomplished. Maybe it's just your favorite delay because it was just a lot of fun the way it happened. You know, it's best in some regard. And here are the options for best delay nominees: Halo Infinite, Animal Crossing, delayed from last year to this year, Cyberpunk 2027, the first time, Cyberpunk 2077, the second time, Cyberpunk 2077, the third time, The Last of Us Part 2. Darn it. I just said I wouldn't mention it. Shit. And Ghosts of Tsushima, which was delayed a month to make room for another game.
All
So,
right, first off, erase those last two from the Jedi archives.
Agreed.
okay, I just wanted to put Ghost of Tsushima because I thought it was kind of funny that they delayed it to make room for another game.
Second off, I think we all know who the winner here is.
Well, I think it depends on your perspective,
It does. It depends on how you interpret
because
the category.
if you interpret it as in a positive sense, Animal Crossing is hands down the winner because it was delayed from last year into this year and came out in the middle of a pandemic when everyone like can't leave the house, like in the
It came out
middle
the
of lockdown.
beginning of the lockdown, and
Yes,
it probably, conservatively, I would estimate at least a 10 million software difference in terms of sales.
oh, absolutely.
Because
It
yeah,
sold. I think it's at like 27 million, something
yeah,
ridiculous.
yeah.
This game like became this gigantic smash hit, and you can thank COVID-19 for that. So I would say Animal Crossing probably helped a lot of people mentally, but
Hmm.
obviously because we are all assholes. I agree with your guys' perspective on best delay.
Oh, Halo Infinite is absolutely the best delay, and here's
Yeah,
why.
Yeah.
There, it's one thing to delay the game. Whatever, delays happen. Miyamoto said a rushed game is bad for, or what is it? A delayed game is eventually good. A rushed game is bad forever. So delays are whatever. But then you have the fact that it was a launch game for their new console. So the thought that it would be delayed was honestly just beyond, I think for all of us, we probably just couldn't even imagine that actually
I
happening
did not think it was
until
Hmm.
it
possible.
did. Yeah.
Hmm.
And then the best part to me, the icing on the cake and why it wins, is because of the fact that it was such a foregone conclusion that it would come out this year that a lot of their promotional deals were already in effect. So there were already
Mm-hmm.
like products like cans of Red Bull and like, snacks and whatever that were going to come with Halo Infinite codes to get content in the game, and it was delayed so late in that process that it was too bad they had to ship all of this stuff with Halo Infinite content. So you have all these people getting this stuff for a game that isn't even going to be out for probably at least another year, which, I mean, that the only time I can think of anything like that happening on this scale is when NBA Elite, like 10 years ago, was literally printed on discs and canceled after it had already been shipped in some cases. Like, I can't think of anything quite on this scale in a very long time.
It's it was a shit show. That's all you can really say about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what got me was, Halo has fallen from grace. I think that's indisputable. You went from the bonkers hype for Halo 3, which we've talked about multiple times. It's just this like cultural event, almost like a new Star Wars movie or something where everybody and your grandma knows about it, right? And then you get Halo 4, which was, iffy, and having now played it, I can understand why people were iffy on it. And then you had Halo 5, which having not played it, I can't really speculate on. But it's indisputable that those games did not drive the same amount of hype. And, you know, the stage is set for the redemption arc, right? And they spent years hyping up, oh, we've got this new engine, here's this teaser trailer, here's this smidgen here, pinch there, a little bit just to get your palate wet, right? And then they show that gameplay demo, and it's a total disaster. And they hyped it up as if this was going to be the next big thing, as if this was going to, they wrote that blog article about how the portion you see in the demo was the most polished gameplay they had, the most polished vertical slice, how proud they were of it, and it looked rough, to say the least, on a technical and graphical level. The gameplay didn't look terrible, but it definitely didn't look silky smooth like you want, right? And then they waffled on, oh, we're not going to delay. All the product placement went out. Then they delayed, but they wouldn't say how long. Then they pushed it back a whole year to fall 2021. And the light at the end of the tunnel, you talked about the positive aspects of the delay, right, for Animal Crossing. If you read the latest 343 article about Infinite, they showed off some armor designs that actually look good, some weapon designs that actually look good. So maybe they're getting the point. Maybe they're getting the picture, right? Finally, after like 10 years in control of this franchise.
Yeah. It
And
could
it gives
be
you
it
hope.
could be it could be both a funny delay, and it could end up next year. It could be a great story.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
I hope so. It would be nice, but I just think it's funny that they were caught so off guard by people shitting on the presentation. Like
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
they were expecting the reaction they got.
No, and
No.
honestly, when I saw it, it didn't strike me in a way that I was like, oh, this is going to be a big backlash. But you know,
But there was.
hey, there it was. It was not well received. So I think that definitely wins. Though it's worth mentioning that had Cyberpunk not been delayed from April, who knows what kind of fun videos would have been on the internet? Who
It would have been
knows?
pretty
It would have
funny.
been even buggier.
It would have, yeah, it would have been a huge disaster, and as it stands now, is just kind of a mess. So
Okay.
let us define that Halo Infinite was the best delay of the year.
Yes.
Let's hope that it is not the best delay of next year.
I would be
Time will tell.
stunned.
Time will tell. And now to dip into the past. So for best old game is our next category, and this is a very loose category, meaning that this would be the best game that did not come out this year. And
With
the
one exception.
qualification the qualifications for this game, it could be very different for each person. It could be a game that was maybe saw a re-release this year, so it got a bump in that way. It could be a game that just had renewed significance for whatever the reason, or it could just be a game that someone played this year and they hadn't gotten around to and they were really stricken by it. So, Setzer, you had talked about this game last week. Why don't you make the case for Halo 3 ODST?
Well, like you said, this was kind of a loose category, and when I was reviewing what games I wanted to nominate for my game of the year, I realized I didn't play a lot of games that came out in 2020. So I wanted to go
Same
with
problem.
something that was maybe a little underappreciated in its time, but that I had just discovered myself and really enjoyed. So if I'm going by those standards, I have to give it to ODST. I think it was a really just an all-around great experience. A lot of fun, atmospheric, different than what you expect from a Halo game in a positive way. I really don't get what's not to like about this game, but I feel like it's always been kind of the black sheep.
I, I don't know. It's always been a certain type of Halo fan's favorite Halo. Like it was my favorite, so I don't know what that really says about it. I am glad that you have vouched for my feelings on it, though. This is the
Yeah,
first year.
well, this does come with a
Yeah,
disclaimer. I did replay Halo 1 through 4 and ODST and Reach this year, and I nominated this one even though it's not my favorite Halo game because I played it for the first time and really liked
yeah.
it. More
Well,
than
this is
4
the first year it
Reach.
was on. This is the first year it was available on PC, wasn't it?
Yep.
Okay, so it did have some renewed significance. I'm sure a lot of people were in your camp who discovered it. Maybe missed it during the 360 era because it kind of snuck in there. So I think I totally skipped on the list of nominees, so I'm going to read that. The nominees are Super Mario 64, Red Dead Redemption 2, Dragon Quest XI S, Echoes of an Elusive Age, Halo 3 ODST, Zero no Kiseki, Demon's Souls. Are you sure it's not Demon Souls? Uh, Final Fantasy 14, Mega Man ZX Advent, and Bloodborne. And I'm going to take a quick minute to talk about the few that I put on here and then vouch for my pick. So Dragon Quest XI S I am playing right now. I think when I finish that game, it may end up being my favorite RPG ever. I just love everything about it. Setzer, funnily enough, played it for 45 minutes this week and dropped it out of I would say apathy, perhaps, would be the way to describe your feelings on it, Setzer.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
left Cobblestone and I thought, you know what? I have better things to do than select attack, select slime, select attack, select
Oh,
slime.
I find this game to be like a warm bath. And actually, I don't think I can take credit for that. I think I took that from a video by, Tim Rogers, I think, back in the day, wrote about this game and said that it was like taking a nice bath. And I think that's definitely true. It's just a nice, comforting game. It doesn't really challenge, or maybe it does eventually, but right now it's not really
Nope.
challenging. It's just got some great music, some fun characters. Like right now, I'm in a town where everybody speaks in poem, and I don't know. That's
I don't
just
like that
fun.
town. Freaking
I don't really
mermaids.
like the town. Well, no, that's not the town I'm talking about. Maybe it's
Oh.
not poems. It's more of I don't know. I'll send you. We'll talk about this later. But it's a quirky town, and I really enjoyed talking to all the NPCs there. Red Dead Redemption 2 came to Game Pass this year, and that was a game that I bounced off of hardcore when it came out and was extremely disappointed with. And when I came back to it in the middle of the pandemic, where I had a lot of time to appreciate its slow, methodical pace, I just found that honestly, I think it's the best written game I've ever played. I think the protagonist, Arthur, is the best character in any game, and I don't even think that close.
One
It's
more heist, Arthur. Gotta go to Tahiti.
I gave you everything I had, Dutch. I think for me, what sets this game apart from other games that I've played recently that I've enjoyed is that a lot of games I'll finish and then they kind of just fall into the wayside. But I still think about Red Dead pretty often, and I still play some of the music from it because it has some incredible music on that soundtrack. And I think despite being a very divisive game, I think it's definitely one of my favorites ever. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you
But
for
a
mentioning
game,
the music, by the way. The
yeah.
music in the mission, like the final mission when you're off, like as Arthur, like going for his last little assignment. That music is so good. It's
Oh yeah, the music. Yeah, it's so sad too because I have never I didn't cry, but I mean I certainly felt things when I saw Arthur riding off one last time, and I knew because I knew what happens in the story. I knew what was going to happen next, but I was still sitting there like, oh man, it was a moment to soak in what a incredible 40-hour journey I had
oh yeah,
just partaken in. And honestly, the I think some of the best music happens in the epilogue.
oh
There's
yeah.
some really good Kenny Rogers, or actually it's Willie Nelson. Sorry, God, that's country music. Twitter's gonna have my head. Uh, yeah, Willie Nelson, and there's a track from the first game, I guess, for the something in the epilogue, and it's just the moment that it hits. It is like in a game that is full of like really somber moments that you just want to like cry into a glass of whiskey over. This is one moment where you just want to throw that glass of whiskey into the wall and like Stone Cold Steve Austin two beers together because it's such a great moment. And I don't get that a lot in games anymore. So I was pretty excited about that.
Oh yeah. That I have qualms with that game, but the way that it does storytelling is pretty darn good.
Such a fantastic game. But anyways, my favorite old game this year was Super Mario 64, which of course was released as part of the Super Mario 3D collection. And I'll admit, probably some of this is getting a nudge from the fact that I would say the week that game came out is probably the worst week of my entire year, and this year was terrible. So I probably was just using that game as comfort food, and boy, was it good comfort food.
Oh
But
yeah.
on top of that, it was also Derek and I did a podcast where we named it the best Mario, so I went in with pretty high expectations based on that. And then when I got done playing it, it was just like, wow, this game is what now? 14 years old?
Are you
Or
kidding
old? No,
me?
it's
Are you?
older. No, sorry.
It's like
Sorry.
it's
Whoops.
almost 30
Bad
years
math.
old.
Bad math. 24. It's 24 years old. 24 years old. I'm sorry. I took away a decade. It's 24 years old. And yet the controls are just about pitch perfect, I think. Qualms with the cameras aside, I mean, come on, it was made in 1996. Get over it.
Like
It's
the
not going to be
first 3D
perfect.
platformer.
Yeah, it is so amazing for what it is and what it does. And I could not peel myself away from it for that entire week that I played it. I got 120 stars, and I'm already thinking the next year I'll probably do it again because that game is just a blast. So that is my pick, no question.
That's a yearly replay game,
Yeah.
like Donkey Kong Country is for me. Like it's just a short and sweet, lots of fun.
Yeah, it's probably 10 hours long if you do go for 120 stars, if that. You can probably knock out a few levels each sitting. It is for being the first major 3D platformer, it sure is probably the best 3D platformer, which is truly something to be said. All right, Derek, now talk about Kiseki.
Okay, so I'm going to be brief about these because I have several. I think my winner is pretty obvious, so I'm going to get to that last. I'm going to start with Bloodborne. I bought Bloodborne at launch. I played it, I think, for about an hour, and then something distracted me, and I did not play it again until this year. I had a PS4 Pro, so I was like, well, maybe it's a little better than it was on the vanilla, and I loved every single second of it. Bloodborne is just action packed, a lot of fun. It's challenging, but not in an obnoxious way. Like when you lose, it feels fair most of the time, which is kind of seldom in challenging games, I feel.
Mm-hmm.
I love the aesthetic. I think the music, it's like, I wish there was more of it, but it's really great when it hits. Um, I think Bloodborne's a masterpiece. And
Amen.
I wish that they would patch it on PS5 so it would run at 60 frames per second because that's the only complaint I could possibly think about it. But goddamn, what a game! Next is Mega Man ZX Advent. I played that as part of the Mega Man X or Zero collection. My opinions on that collection were Mega Man Zero is kind of shitty, but ZX Advent was the one game in that collection. I was like, this is really fun. it actually made. I think I spent 40 hours total in the ZX collection, and that most of it was spent with ZX Advent. It's just a great game. It's not as hard as the others, but the others were hard in like a not fun way. So I'm okay with that. Early in the year, I played a lot of Final Fantasy 14. It ended when Persona 5 Royal and FF7 Remake came out. I think if you're looking for an MMO to waste time, like there's not much better you can go with
Amen.
because it's good to play by yourself. Like you don't have to talk to anyone if you really don't want to. But if you do want to, like the dungeons and stuff are pretty quick. I think you can beat most of them in about 20 minutes maybe. And they're not particularly like challenging, I don't think. So the problem you get in WoW with like shitty randoms, it does happen, but it's less of a hindrance. I feel like you can usually clear your dungeons and stuff. The story is really interesting for some of it. The vanilla FF14 not so much, but Heaven's Ward is really fascinating throughout. Still need to play Shadowbringers. I blame that on me playing a bunch of shit this year and just not getting back to FF14, but I think it's great, and I think it's probably my favorite MMO ever at this point. But we will, I'll get back to it.
Yeah, I have to agree with you on that one. I will say this: if you thought Heavensward was good, Shadowbringers is gonna blow your mind, man.
Oh yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I need like after I'm done with Demon Souls and Crash 4 and Cyberpunk, I want to get back to it at some point. So hopefully the spring of 2021 will give me an opportunity. Demon Souls was a late addition to this list, and I feel like it violates the spirit of it because it's technically a 2020 release, a complete ground up remake. But I love it, and I wanted to get it mentioned on here somewhere other than best graphics. The way it's approached is a little different than other Souls-like games. It feels more like a linear level-based game than the others. So as a result, like I was worried that Bloodborne would make me like flame out on this pretty quickly, but they're different enough where it's pretty interesting. I like it so much, in fact, that I'm like, I wish I wasn't doing this right now, so I could be playing Demon Souls. So this is I
Well,
just
huh.
I we did a podcast earlier in the year, me and Cheston anyway, about the best launch games. And Demon Souls, I don't know if it qualifies in the spirit of what we were talking about because it's a remake, but it is up there with like Breath of the
I'll give it
Wild.
like I told you, I give it a pass because I think a lot of people, this is probably their first time playing Demon Souls.
I think it's up there with like Breath of the Wild and Mario 64 and Super Mario World for best launch game. I mean, obviously I think I prefer Mario 64 and stuff, but I think this is a masterpiece. It has flaws, which I will talk about another day, but I love it. And finally, the obvious winner, Zero no Kiseki, which was part of my long, long journeys through the Kiseki games. The reason I won't talk about it too long because I've talked about them enough, but this game, what I think it did really well is that it focused on a small squad of 4 people, and it told a really interesting story about a city and like the midst of like this great like war among the continents, and the city's like kind of in the middle of it. And it's like also tells like an interesting detective story. It's just great. This was probably my favorite of the Kazaki games. It did not kick off the rampant ghost through the old ones that was Cold Steel 1, but I think I am giving it this nod because it is my favorite of them. So there you go. And it is only
Well,
available in
I don't
fan translation at the moment. So the hipster award of the year goes to me.
I don't know about you, Setzer, but I feel like we got so much mileage out of Kiseki that as a make good for Derek, we should agree that this is the old game of the year.
All right, I'll capitulate.
All
All right.
right.
Well,
Derek
give one
wins.
to. But as always, Derek, I'm playing the long game with this, so
Yeah, we'll
one
see.
day, one day this will pay off. So the best old game of the year is a game that Derek had to play with a translation. But
Yay.
a fan translation, right?
Yeah.
Well, if there is ever a more Derek game, then I don't know it. So the winner is Zero no Kiseki. Congratulations to the fans that translated it. You
Thank
must have
you.
done a pretty good job.
They did.
Why did you say thank you? Did you
Yeah, I
help
was part
translate
of
it?
it. I was part of the team.
Your
He's on the
Japanese must have
PR
really
team
picked up.
apparently.
Yeah. Well, I'm on the PR team of that and Yakuza.
Well, this is
Gotta
like a
start paying
payola,
me.
got some kind of wacky payola scheme going on here for these awards. These people are trying to get bonuses for getting nominated. Anyways, on to a darker category. This is the category where we honor the grifters among us. This is the Scam of the Year award. So, the scoundrels of the year, some might say, are Genshin Impact, NBA 2K21. Does Oculus Rift count as a scam? No, I don't think. Well, Facebook maybe, so I'll leave it on. Xbox Series S, which I don't think is a scam. And the Kingdom Hearts 3 DLC.
So I
Okay.
need to explain my stuff real quick since you're going to delete it all anyway.
Please do.
Xbox Series S, I feel like I guess calling it a scam is very mean spirited because I don't think
It,
it's actually a scam. So,
it does what it does for the people who want it.
but my thing
I
is
want
like
one.
you're selling a next gen console as a next gen console, but this thing's going to be obsolete pretty quickly. It's not as powerful as the One X. Like so, I think like it's
Well, it is in some ways, and it isn't
in
in
some
some
ways,
ways. It's weird.
but it's like the backwards compatibility mode is the same as the Xbox One, so like you're not getting a boost there. So you're getting a machine to play new games, which is cool, but they're 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 just not gonna. It's not the
It
same as running a
actually,
next gen
it
console.
does, it does boost some backwards compatible games.
Okay, well,
No.
calling it a
Not a
scam was
scam.
a
Not a
stretch.
scam. I'm only saying that
Not a
because I kind of
scam,
want one.
but I think it deserves a place in the list solely because it's going to hold back an entire generation of game development
Yeah,
and going
I
to be the
don't
least
think.
common denominator.
I don't.
In
I think
7 years, in
the
seven
jury is out.
years,
We
when
will see.
Cyberpunk 2078 comes out, it's going to suck on the Series S, and
yeah,
people are going to flip their lids about it.
that's
Oh,
I'm
true.
telling
that's
you now.
fine. That's fine if that happens. I don't care about that. That's fine. I think that's probably the end. I think that will end up happening, and that's just whatever. Then it's like PCs. So I think the people who are going to get that kind of know what they're getting at this point.
So Oculus Rift is more about the Facebook thing. Um,
Yes,
I think
I
it's
think we all hate Facebook.
I
So
think it's a thing where it's ridiculous that you have to have a Facebook account, but
Yeah, I think that
uh,
qualifies as a scam. They
honestly,
pulled the rug out
honestly,
from under everyone who bought one.
yeah,
yeah.
that actually might be my pick
All
because I
right, well
hate
then
that.
I won't delete that, but I will talk on the Kingdom Hearts 3 DLC real quick. They charge $29.99 for what they advertise as a story-based pack. Now, let me get out front. I like this because I'm a degenerate, but this the story content is all rehashed from the end of Kingdom Hearts 3. You get nothing new. Like it's all like retold from a different perspective, and most of the cutscenes are just old. It's weird, and most of the gameplay content is like old bosses. I think the final boss of the DLC before you unlock the extra bosses is Xehanort again, and it's the same final boss as it is in the final Kingdom Hearts 3, and that's bullshit. The big draw of it is like bonus like bosses, like you fight like extra hard versions of Organization 13, which are fun boss battles, but you have to like be into the challenge, and the people that bought the DLC probably wanted the story. So I think that is kind of a like bad advertising, but it doesn't belong here.
To me, very off-putting that it even had DLC. To be honest, given that it was kind of advertised as the end of Kingdom Hearts, but at some point, I'm the idiot for believing them.
Yeah,
So
that's on you.
yeah, yeah, that's on me. So, anyways, I'll say about NBA 2K21. It was the first game to announce the $70 price tag, and I think we were all pretty accurate in saying that that game did not deserve that price tag. That game has been a giant microtransaction hell for years now, and I don't think that has changed. In fact, I know that has not changed. So it seems to me like that didn't really deserve that $70 price tag, given that they're already making hand over fist. So I'd say I'm not sure it wins because I think both of you have better nominees. But that was my first thought when I saw this category.
Well, I guess it's between Genshin and Oculus. Genshin is a scam, but it's one of many of the sort. You know what I mean? Like there's lots of gotchas out there.
That's
Um,
true, but I think that Genshin Impact has become so politicized, popularized, and pervasive, and I think that it's kind of laid bare the gotcha disease in a lot of ways that were previously. I think that at least in the West, when we talk about a lot of the predatory monetization, we used to talk about it in terms of loot boxes. With the advent of Genshin Impact, people are actually using the term gotcha in the West now,
oh,
and kind of becoming familiarized with this genre and just accepting this sort of monetization as just a genre, right?
this
Where the whole
cuckoldry.
point of the game is to pay money. Um, like it's literally you just pay money. That's the game, right?
Yeah, that's pretty much yeah. The whales are in it big, huh? It's obnoxious that it's kind of become accepted and not something that people admonish.
Turns out if you make a game that, by all accounts, probably kind of decent, it apes one of the best games ever made, that is enough to get people to overlook very concerning developments within that game. I don't know. I think Oculus is nefarious because it has its tendrils all over the place.
Well, they did like they sold a device to people and said, "Well, you can't use it if you don't sign up for Facebook, even if you don't want to."
Right. Yeah, and
So
I mean, that was not ever the
that was
thing
not part of the
before.
deal.
So, yeah, so now you have a bunch of people, I'm sure, well, however many people have Oculus, that are quite furious about this.
Well, I'll never miss an opportunity to shit on social media, so I say give it to Oculus.
All right, I'm down with
Okay.
that.
This is another neck and neck one though.
Yeah, I agree. It's close.
Yeah, I
I also
agree.
think NBA 2K1 hangs with it too, but I am.
I hate Genshin Impact, and I wish it ill and all that. But I think Oculus can win this. All right. Well, the Oculus Rift, a great way to look at some pretty pictures. But none of these games are on the Oculus Rift in our Pretty Pictures Award nominee list. This is the award for the games with the prettiest pictures, the most pretty pictures you most like to look at. And our nominees are Cyberpunk 2077, Hades, Demon's Souls or Demon Souls, whatever it is, Paper
It's Demon
Mario,
Souls.
The Origami King, and Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, which was Derek's nominee to nobody's surprise, as Derek is the only person I know of who played this game.
It looks good.
So,
What
is
do you
it a
want
good
from me?
looking? It's a good looking anime game.
It
Does it
looks
look like
like
Dragon
Dragon
Ball
Ball
Z?
Z to me.
Yeah, that's pretty. Well,
Yeah,
hey, that's good. Dragon Ball Z looks pretty
yeah.
good.
That's
Does
all I
it
want to
look like
say. It looks like
the?
the anime.
Does it
So
look like the Broly movie we watched a year ago?
not quite as high budget as that,
All right,
but
then
uh,
I'm deleting it.
but it looks like the anime. Like it looks like you're playing in an episode at times, and the open world is really pretty. So I like it. Same with Origami King. It's a very just pretty game. I think it's got a very great art style, and I think it will age
I love
exceptionally well.
Yes, I love the diversity of the levels. I think
Yes.
for a Mario game, especially a Paper Mario game, the very interesting environments it creates instead of just doing like a desert level and an ice level, they have neat twists on a lot of their different areas you explore, and they're just a lot of fun to look around. I would say this game deserves a knock though for all the toads looking like
It does.
pretty much the same. I think that is kind of a bummer.
What I was gonna say was that this game was nominated for style, and there's another game on here that's nominated for style that I think is better, um, which is Hades. So, so I think I'm okay with knocking Origami King out, but I wanted to mention
Yeah, I might talk about that next week.
Demon. Yeah, okay, you might.
Might.
um,
I said maybe.
Demon Souls, I think, is the best looking of all the console launch games. I've not really like there's much competition. It's gotten some flack for lacking the soul, pun not intended, I guess, of the PS3 release. But in my opinion, the original PS3 release was, from what I understand, I didn't play much of it because I got lost in the Nexus, which is the hub, because I'm an idiot. From what I understand, it was kind of low budget and kind of like haphazardly made. So this game, the remake, is less low budget. To me, it looks like a really just good looking Souls game. It looks like, I don't know, Dark Souls, but good looking, better looking, I suppose. So it's not like gonna break any records or be revolutionary, but it just looks really good. Because like I see like the fire effects in the game, like god damn, it looks really nice. So that's good. But I can't endorse it for winning this because I think Cyberpunk is one of the most beautiful looking games I've ever seen. So, and
Yeah. Well,
it's competing in the same field as Demon Souls. So
unless you're playing it on a PS4 or an Xbox One,
well, right,
in which case,
but like
yeah.
I like even on the Series X, like I see like NPCs, like God, they just look so good,
Yeah. It's
and the
not even the
world.
enhanced. It's not even
It's not
enhanced
even the
version.
enhanced, but like I like look at the world. Like the city is so visually interesting. It is just it's amazing looking, and that's why I think even though I respect what Hades did, I think Cyberpunk would win for me just because it's just so visual fascinating looking. Like everything is just like Night City is one of the most interesting looking places I've seen in a game.
I had to split my nomination between the three that remain because I really love all these games and the way they look. Demon Souls, that was probably the game that made me think, like, whoa, the new consoles might actually have something to them, right?
Yeah.
It's probably the first game that I looked at and said, this looks next gen,
Oh,
right?
it does.
Definitively.
Yes.
You know, like there's an actual leap from the PS4 to the PS5.
Yeah, it looks amazing
Um,
in motion.
Hades, I really, having not owned a Nintendo console for a very long time, I do appreciate the like handcrafted Hobby Lobby look they're going for lately with a lot of their games. But I think Hades' hand drawn look is just brilliant.
It's
I think it just oozes soul.
Yeah, it
Um,
is so good. I think the best argument you can make for Hades is I'm going to steal a quote from Gabe from Penny Arcade, which was, "If I drew even one of these characters, I would retire."
yeah,
And that's kind of how I felt playing it. Like, yeah, damn, like all of these characters, all of these environments, every single bit of this game is so perfectly rendered. I just adore everything about its style.
yeah, and it's worth noting, it's not just about the individual pieces; it's how they come together and how they fit together into a game in a coherent way where you're moving this character around and the character design is brilliant, the art design is brilliant, the way it's translated into the game is brilliant, the lava in the second area is brilliant. It's all brilliant. But
Except for that third area.
well,
Theseus
it
can go to
looks
hell.
nice. I don't like
Yeah.
playing it, but it looks nice. But the elephant in the room is Cyberpunk 2077 has both of those elements. If you see the RTX on, RTX off comparisons for Cyberpunk, holy shit. It's pushing the boundary
Oh yeah.
in a way that, Demon Souls looks great, but it's not the next big thing in the way
No.
that Cyberpunk with ray tracing is. Hades has a brilliant aesthetic, but it's not as interesting to me personally as Cyberpunk and its density and its vision and how evocative it is
Oh
and
yeah.
how well thought out it all is.
Like
Um,
the city is so grimy looking. It's so
mhm, mhm.
and and like it's rare that you see like a game like that's super good looking but also creative looking. It's
Yeah,
hard to say, but because usually I feel like really good looking games just look kind of I don't know plain. Like they don't go for like weirdness. But Cyberpunk is just it's
He's
so
talking about
distinct.
The Last of Us Part 2.
Maybe, but there's a lot that would qualify for that for sure.
Yeah. I,
Uh, but Cyberpunk is I don't know. It's just so distinct. Like You would see a screenshot from it and immediately know what game it's from.
Yeah. Well, I'm gonna recuse myself from this because I actually, as an aesthetic, I think I hate Cyberpunk. Like,
Oh, okay.
not the game specifically. I think in general, the look of Cyberpunk I hate. So
That's fair.
I
That's fair.
I was gonna throw my weight behind Demon Souls, even though I don't like Soulsborns at all. But I will let you all have your Cyberpunk
I think,
if
but
that is what you want.
that said, I think these three are easily the best looking of the year. I think we have a good three.
Absolutely.
I think I agree. Yeah, I think your argument for Cyberpunk over something like that game, which shall not be mentioned, is solid. It kind of
Well, that was also my argument for over Hades because it has style and graphics, whereas Hades is mostly style.
it's so good to look at though.
Oh, I think it's a beautiful game.
I would
Just
hang
It's a feast
Hades
for
up.
the eyes, but
Yeah.
it's
I would
not
hang Hades
pushing
up
the
in my
boundary.
room. I would take a picture of that game, put it up in my
Oh,
room.
you'd get a wall scroll.
Of course, now it'd be a pain in the ass to get the screenshot off the Switch though. I don't know if you heard, but they added that in a recent update, and it sounds like the worst way to ever to do it. So I have
They
not
also
done
added Google Analytics to the Switch in an update, so you might want to disable that.
Oh, yep.
that. Oh,
Thank you
did
for
they?
the heads up. I will do that when
Oh,
I get off this
interesting. Yeah,
podcast.
yeah. All right. Well, Cyberpunk wins something. It is
Yep.
the prettiest picture, and that's about it. So we will move on to a category that is just so cute that they wanted to bring it back. It is the Squeakquel Award for the best sequel of the year. So we have nominated our favorite Squeakquels, if you will. Aren't we adorable? And our list includes Doom Eternal, Ori and the Will of the Wisps, Crash 4 It's About Time, Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity, Resident Evil 3 Kind of, which is an interesting way to nominate something, and Cold Steel 4. Cold Steel 4 and Animal Crossing New Horizons. So, this list is the winner is Ori. You all can discuss your others, and then I'll tell you why you're wrong.
Okay. Well, the reason Resident Evil 3 has kinda in there is because it's kind of a sequel to Resident Evil 2, which is also a remake. so, its status as a sequel is questionable to me. I also don't think it's one of the best games of the year. I just really enjoyed it. It's a, I don't know, it's a little more action packed than Resident Evil 2, which I feel was one of the creepiest, I don't know, games I played last year. I don't know if you agree with me on
Absolutely.
Cheston. Yep.
It is the best game from last year, and I
It
should have
is.
nominated for best old game.
It has got the sound design in that is something else. Resident Evil 3 is a good game, but it's not as good as 2. I just wanted to talk about it a little bit. Cold Steel 4 was nominated basically for the Kiseki Memorial sort of thing. It got a lot of play. I think it is one of my top games of the year. That said, a surprise for me was that Hyrule Warriors Age of Calamity might be my favorite game this year. I don't know
Surprise
yet.
for you, not for anybody else, but yeah.
It's just a lot of fun. I play it in like small chunks. Like I lay down and go to bed. I play for like 40 minutes. I get my fill, go to sleep. So I'm gonna be playing it for a while. It's just a really comfy game. I would be fine with none of my choices winning because I like them for different reasons. I think Cold Steel 4 would be great if more people played it and got more mainstream recognition, but it never will. So I'm fine with dropping those.
Okay, I agree. I'm glad they were invited. I
They
will
rule though.
I will say that Animal Crossing New Horizons, though, I think I certainly like it the most of anybody here,
It's
given
fun.
that Setzer hates Nintendo and Derek is a baby. I liked New Horizons quite a bit. My wife and I had a lot of fun with New Horizons. However, as a squeakquel, I would say there are some problems in that it does some things far better than previous Animal Crossings and some things a little bit worse, which is a bit of a dilemma when you're talking about a sequel. Because the game I'm going to talk about here in a little bit does absolutely everything better than its predecessor and might actually be a perfect game. So I'm going to just delete Animal Crossing and I'm going to let Setzer talk about Doom Eternal.
Well, this one's a tough one. Looking back, I can't think of any sequels I played this year, including Doom Eternal. I didn't buy it or play it yet.
Oh.
I've
All
played
right.
2 seconds
So
of it, so we can cut that from the list.
if we're gonna say it's the sequel you want to play the most that came out this year, I guess I'll give it to Doom Eternal. But I agree, it can be cut.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
I've
it's
played like I don't know 10 minutes of it. It plays like Doom, so it's good. I
Yeah.
just have other things I'm playing.
all right, Derek. Crash Bandicoot 4. You sent me a text the other day that just said "fuck this game," so I'm curious how it made this list.
Well, I don't know if I don't think I nominated it, and if I did, I don't know why I did. It's fine. It's probably the best Crash game.
All right, well that does make it a good squeakquel because I hated the Crash games.
Yeah, I think it's fun. But what I said fuck this game for is because I made it to the end of a level and I got 119 out of 120 crates, and I was really mad about it.
You mean 200? Oh, I'm sorry, I misheard you.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's such is the dilemma of Crash. I've heard that this game, more than any of the others, is a pain to 100%,
they
which is
hide their crates.
amazing
It's
because
so
Crash.
obnoxious.
Derek and I a year ago, both at the same time, 100% of Crash 2, and I think I speak for both of us when I say that we will never play Crash Bandicoot 2 ever again. That was
I don't know about that. Crash 2
okay.
was the best one of
It was the
those.
best of those games, but it was boy 100%ing that. Some of those levels where you have to go backwards.
The
Ooh,
reason that was the only one we under 100% in it is because that was the only one worth 100%ing. Like
yeah.
Crash
Crash
1,
1 is maddening, and then Crash
too
3 is
hard.
just very. Crash 3
Crash
has those stupid motorcycle
Crash
levels.
3 is low key lazy,
Yeah.
but no one wants to talk
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah. No one wants. Yeah. Naughty Dog had moved on to Jack and Daxter at that point, I think.
Yes,
At least mentally. So let me say my piece about Ori, which is the winner
which
of
is
the
already
category.
one. So
It's the only thing left, but I'm gonna say that if we are talking about a good sequel, then Ori is everything you want from a sequel. I played the first Ori game this year, early in the year, Ori and the Blind Forest, and I thought, oh, this is fine. It had some pieces. The platforming was pretty decent, and it aesthetically it was charming, and the soundtrack was wonderful, and there were a few chase sequences that were kind of fun. But when I finished playing it, I said, I know the new game's coming out, and I like this fine, but I think I'm gonna wait a long time before I play the sequel. And of course, the sequel came out about a month after I played the first game, and I wasn't going to play it, and then I saw all these videos, and I heard people referencing one of my untouchable games, which is Hollow Knight, and I thought, oh, really? So I downloaded it on a whim on Game Pass, and I was just immediately taken. I think within a day of playing it, I told Derek it was the game of the year, and I don't know if that's actually true. I'm still thinking about it, but it's certainly one of my favorite games of the year and one of my favorite games ever, and I think one of the best sequels ever because it takes every little element of Ori and tweaks it to make it better. The platforming is better. It is just sharper. The game runs smoother. I believe it is 60 frames per second, and the original was not. So obviously it's smoother in that regard. The backgrounds are much more vibrant, much more animated this time around, so they are one, more memorable, and two, far more striking than the first game in a lot of ways. The combat in the first game to me felt like they ran out of time and just tacked on this really crummy projectile system where you had a little orb that shoots little bullets. And this game added in a whole slew of new weapons that are far more engaging. And because of that, the game actually has boss battles, which the first game did not. And the boss battles are, if not great, they are at least some of the most engaging boss battles in any game I've ever played. The soundtrack just hums while you play it, and it is such a moving thing when you are fighting those bosses. It is tremendous, and you know they even the things that didn't work about the first game they just throw out. They didn't hold them sacred. Like the first game had the save system where you made the save points using your energy, which meant if you were low on energy, you couldn't make a save point and you couldn't save. And it made the game way harder, but it wasn't really that fun of a system. They just tossed it out. They had an experience point system in the last game where you leveled up and added perks, and they just replaced it. They just got rid of it with a system more in line with Hollow Knight, which rewards you for exploring. So I just love that they did not hold anything sacred. They threw a lot of things out, and everything else they just tweaked and made better. I really think that this game is overlooked. Didn't get nominated for Best Game of the Year at the Game Awards, which I think is a sham. And I think a lot of people just haven't played it because they think maybe it's just one of those emotional 2D platformers, or oh, it's just another Metroidvania, or it's an Xbox exclusive, so whatever. Or well, it's not even that anymore. But it's an Xbox first party game, so who cares? But this game is truly magnificent, and it's absolutely the best sequel, maybe the best game of the year. Don't know, but it wins the category.
Well, you're
So
right. Well, the first I thought Ori was one of those emotional platformers, so that's
yeah,
why I never
it's
touched
really
it.
it's really not. I would say storyline wise, it's more comparable to
They
like
need to get their
a very.
advertising set because that's
It's
what
well,
it
it's
makes
not
it
their
look like.
fault. I think it's more of like the press conferences when Microsoft would put it on stage. They tended to show it that way, but to me, it's really more of a just a very nice children's book storyline
Cool.
wise. Like I'm
Because
not there for the story.
right, because I've had enough of emotional platformers. I don't need to feel
Yeah,
things
I,
anymore.
I mean I think it does go for emotion, but I don't think that's really its strong point. I think it's more of a very nice children's story with amazing visuals and some of the best platforming ever. So I think it's poorly advertised, and it's a tremendous game, and it should be lauded as such. And so it has been, and so it has been said.
All right. Congratulations to Yakuza Like a Dragon for winning the Squeakquel Award.
No, it wasn't even nominated.
Cast in the Money in the Bank briefcase. What do you know?
Oh, curses. Well, Ori and the Will of the Wisps is the true winner, so we will we'll look forward, as Squeakquel is all about looking forward, and we will look forward to the Hope for the Future Award, which I believe would be an award meant to honor something that is making us look forward to the next year for whatever reason, or the next few years in some of these games cases, or the next decade in one of these games cases. And those games that we have nominated are Perfect Dark, Dragon Age 4, Fighters Pass 2, which is Smash Brothers DLC, Near Replicant, which I think has a much longer name,
It does.
which I'm glad nobody put, because I love specifics and I would be tempted. Halo Infinite, Deathloop, Breath of the Wild 2, Elden Ring, The World Ends With You, Neo, and Persona 5 Strikers.
All right, so I want to start off. We can kill Elden Ring because we know nothing, literally nothing about it. But
Yeah, eat it, nerds.
I have gained a very big appreciation for From lately, like with
Mhm.
Bloodborne and Demon Souls. So I am excited for them just on name alone at this point. So that is why I put it there.
You and the rest of the internet.
I
But
actually went out and bought Sekiro based just because I'm like I gotta play what the From has. I just like these guys. So
more like Sakuro.
yeah, pretty
You should go
much.
back and play Cookies and Cream and get a real picture of From's
I'm
history.
gonna play Kingsfield next. get,
There we go.
get
Now
deep
you're
in it.
talking.
Yeah.
Yeah, hell yeah.
Best old game, Kingsfield. Anyways, um, I don't know. I don't think Perfect Dark's gonna win, and
Nope.
it shouldn't, because all we have is a trailer, and Perfect Dark is actually not a good
Perfect
game.
Dark's always
But
been bad.
but conceptually, I love Perfect Dark as a fun riff on James Bond, but with lady spies. So I'm looking forward to that.
I think Perfect Dark
I think
N64 is better than GoldenEye.
Yeah, I think this. Well, I don't know if I totally agree
The only thing
anymore,
wrong with
having
Perfect
gone
Dark is
back.
the slapping and making it blurry, which is a big problem.
It's not the only thing wrong with it. I think Perfect Dark as an idea has potential. It would be the first good Perfect Dark game, and I hope that it is, but we don't know anything about it. We also don't know anything about Dragon Age, other than it's a
No.
game, and I think we
And
know a
who
little
has
bit,
hope for Dragon
actually.
Age? You madman?
Okay,
Uh, your
I put
wife?
it on there not because I think this game is going to be good, but because I'm hoping to learn more about it,
Right.
if that makes
Oh,
sense.
It does make
well,
sense.
that's very optimistic. It would be nice to learn more about it. They seem to be taking their time, and the fact that they're also making a new Mass Effect game, allegedly, is concerning to me at least.
Well,
It,
let me put it this way. I think Dragon Age 4 is a shoo-in for best delay of 2021
Oh, easily.
oh,
after they show
yeah,
off the first gameplay.
yes,
That's what my hope for the future on that one.
yeah, I think Fighters Pass 2 is a sneaky choice because it had a real momentum shift with Sephiroth
That's the
getting
first one I
announced, and I
liked.
that's right. And I hadn't been playing much Smash Brothers this year because with Fighter Pass 1, every time a new fighter would come out, I'd probably play for another few weeks after that. But this year, Min I stuck around for like a week, and then Steve I played for a day. Sephiroth I think will have me playing a little bit more. We even had a little smashing the other night, which was a lot of fun. So I think Fighters Pass 2 I'm gonna keep on here even though it's DLC because I'm excited to see what they have coming next, and I'm gonna regret this if they add the Fortnite guy. So hopefully
I
that doesn't happen.
I would be fine with striking Near Replicant, even though I am very excited for it, just because it is a remake, and you could go play Near right now if you wanted to. It's a different battle system, but you can technically play that story right now.
Fair
You
enough.
could.
But I am very much looking forward to Nier. Don't take it being eliminated as a slight against it.
No, I know
Nier
you love Nier.
Automata was one of my favorite games of the last generation,
It
and
was nearly your favorite game of the last generation.
I said one of.
Ba-dum-ts.
I
Oh,
said,
ha 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 ha! Nearly,
mm-hmm.
but yeah, I have not played much of the original Nier. I played a little bit of it, but not a lot. So I'm looking forward to experiencing that story. But I think, in the spirit of this award, this should not be there.
Yeah, I
Can
agree.
we say the
I
same
don't really
about
have any
roll-ins with
feelings
you
for Nier.
two?
Yes, you can. I only want that because I want to see how it connects to Kingdom Hearts.
You just want to know that it
Fair.
actually is a Kingdom Hearts game, like
Yeah,
you have been saying.
I want to be proven right. I think The World Ends With You 1 was a perfect standalone game and that it doesn't need a sequel. I just want to be proven correct.
P5
That's
Strikers.
I love it. Well, see, my reason for looking for the Pre-5 Strikers is that it apparently is canon and it continues like the
So
Persona
they
5
said about
story.
Age of Calamity.
Well,
What they said.
that's definitely not canon.
They lied.
It involves time travel, so it's not
Yes,
canon.
I know. Well,
Uh,
not.
but
You know
uh,
what? It's Zelda though, so whatever.
but Persona 5 Strikers allegedly is canon, but I guess we'll see. But I really like Musos now. Apparently, I don't know when this happens,
You've become
uh,
that guy. I feel like
uh,
you were destined to like Musos though.
and it's one of those. So, and it's going to be on
Um,
PlayStation, so it'll have loading
I have a
times that.
theory about this that I'm
Yeah.
going to share next week.
Okay.
So just please look forward to that.
Okay. Well, I'm just looking forward to playing it on a console where loading times aren't like 80 billion years to get into a
You mean the
battle.
Switch? Not on the
Yeah.
Switch?
Yeah, it's not on the
Yeah,
Switch because that's my one
yeah,
problem with Age of Calamity. The loading times are ridiculous. So,
yeah. I agree. The demo had some pretty rough loadings.
so this is something that only I'm interested in, whereas there are other things that I think other people would be interested in.
I
Oh,
might.
don't even kid
For
yourself. No, none of you are going to play Persona 5 Strikers. So,
I
I
might.
don't.
I loved
okay,
P5.
okay, okay.
I might. I might. Who
You got to
knows?
play
Maybe I'll
Persona.
get
You're
a.
not allowed to, Cheston. You got to play Persona 5 first.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I'm gatekeeping.
It, all right. Well, as long as you admit it, it's okay if you admit you're doing it.
Yeah. Well, I just need you to appreciate the story before you get into the other one. But
Well, when I played that Age of Calamity demo, my first thought was, I think I might like Muso.
yeah, they're cool, dude. they're,
They're not bad.
they're
You know what?
relaxing.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk about this, but
Yeah.
it's not. I mean, it's not on my list. I know it's on your list, so that's why I'm gonna make sure I leap off of you to talk about it. But
Sure enough.
for now, you're saying no Persona 5 Strikers, or is that you want to keep that because
I mean,
that's your pick?
I would be fine with keeping it, but I also
What about Final Fantasy 16?
no.
Too
Um,
early.
I think I
It's
do
coming
think
out
it will
next
come out
year.
next year. Yes, but from the gameplay that I saw, it looks like FF15, and
Okay,
FF15 is okay, but I don't necessarily love how it plays. So I need to see
okay,
more.
yeah,
I
I
think,
agree.
yeah. I think it's too early for 16, and I think that given the pedigree, the people involved in the project, it's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, it's probably going to be solid, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know. I just added something to the list. I added
Yeah, so
Hollow Knight Silk Song, which
you
is,
can knock it right off because it won't win.
well,
Yeah.
I know it won't win, but Hollow Knight is one of the best games ever made, and Hollow Knight Silk Song is the sequel to one of the best games ever made. And I don't now, if anybody here listening has played Hollow Knight, then you will remember the character that this game is following, who's Hornet. And Hornet was much more agile than the Hollow Knight, so it makes me wonder if this will be more of an action-focused game, which could be interesting because Hollow Knight was very much about the exploration, and the combat, while good, was very deliberate and kind of slow-paced. So, well, slow-paced maybe not the word for it, but it is deliberate. So, anyways, I just wanted
Call
to
me when
make
it's in
sure
3D.
you would love Hollow Knight, you son of a bitch. You of all people would probably agree with me that it's really great, but
Too
whatever.
bad.
I'm
I
gonna
only
delete
played
Breath.
Hollow Knight once, and I played it at a really bad time because I was during
Yeah,
wedding prep.
you need to be dedicated to that game.
Yeah,
I'm gonna delete Breath of the Wild 2 because we
we know
don't
nothing
know
about it.
anything about it, but I am very excited. I think it's gonna come out next year, and I think it's if it does, it'll probably be my game of the year. Which
We
is
know as
I
much
know I
about
just
that as we do Elden Ring.
I know I criticize people about doing that with Cyberpunk, but I know how I felt about Breath of the Wild, so
There you go.
just delete it. And I'm curious because I know a little about Deathloop, but I didn't. This is something I didn't know you were passionate about, Setzer. What's with Deathloop?
Well, I'm a huge fan of Arcane. I love, love, love Dishonored. Prey is a simply brilliant game that did not get enough credit in its time. You can thank Todd for that one. Deathloop is the next game coming out of Arcane, and after Prey, I think these guys need a win. So I'm really hoping they pull out all the stops, they get the marketing budget they deserve, and they get the sales they deserve. So Deathloop, I'm rooting for you.
Looks interesting.
It seems,
Definitely.
that studio seems, having never played any of their games, but always thinking they seem fascinating. I feel like that's a very underrated developer, and the sneaky best acquisition in Microsoft's Bethesda acquisition.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely. It's an interesting game because of its PS5 nature, where it's like they're honoring the exclusivity agreement or whatever, like
Oh
where
yeah,
it's
that is
Mm-hmm.
weird,
yeah.
right?
So
Yeah,
it's very
that is
strange.
a very 2020 kind of thing with just all the rules that we thought were established being broken down. I thought conceptually that did seem interesting. I never played Dishonored because I think the setting it never seemed to appeal to me. But honestly, it could be because those games, like you're saying about Prey, always got pretty short shrift
Dishonored
in
rules.
discussions.
Yeah.
Yeah, does it?
Amazing game.
That game
I
is
think
great.
Dishonored 2 good? I think that's on
No,
Game
Yes.
Pass.
it's okay.
It's good.
But one's way
It's
better.
so I think I would be hard pressed to say one is better than the other. Dishonored 1 is a more pure experience. Dishonored 2 has more creative level design. Just the Clockwork Mansion, the time travel level, those really stand out to me. Whereas in Dishonored 1, the levels are all pretty straightforward.
I think what did it for me is I think Dishonored 2's story kind of sucks.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah, I think that's the biggest drawback to D2.
so, and I like Dishonored 1 story pretty well. So that was where,
Try that. I'm sure that's backwards compatible, right?
yes, it is.
Yeah, okay.
And also, it's like
Probably super cheap.
$2. Definitive
Yeah.
Edition is a Xbox One game, and it's like $2. So,
Really? I'm gonna
well,
check
I don't
that
know
out.
if it's $2 right now, but
Well, but I mean, I believe that it's not a game that I would think would be very expensive.
no.
Uh,
In fact, they had an
so
arcane sale that was Prey, Dishonored, and Dishonored 2 for $9.99 the other day. So you can get them both
what?
pretty cheap. Yeah.
Really, I'll have to look at that. I need to log onto the store. I'm trying to work on my backlog, so the last thing I need, but I'm curious. I added one more game. The Gunk.
Okay.
Anybody?
I've never
The
heard
Huh?
of it.
Gunk.
Who?
Never.
Uh, this is the this game is developed by Image and Form, who make the SteamWorld games, which I am a very
What?
big fan of. SteamWorld Dig 2, secretly one of the best games of the past 10 years. Nice little platformer on the Switch. This is their first 3D effort. and it's going to be on Xbox Series S and X, I think next year. And it's very much a 3D platformer with kind of reminds me of Reverse Mario Sunshine because it's a 3D platformer, and instead of blowing out water, you're sucking up trash. So I'm very interested to see what this turns out to be. I trust that studio, but it
I
definitely won't win. So
I never heard of it.
it was in their big Xbox Series S and X debut show,
Okay.
and anybody who knew anything said that was the best game at their show. Certainly wasn't Halo Infinite. So I don't know. I feel like Setzer's passion for Deathloop and Arcane Studios is enough for me, though I do love the sudden Muso-ness of Derek. When you sent me a text that you said Age of Calamity might be your favorite game of the year, it was such, to me, it was the moment of the year. I was like, man, on some levels this is unpredictable, but on some levels this is like the most predictable thing to ever happen.
That game rules, man. That game so fucking good.
Like you loved Hyrule Warriors, and I feel like didn't want to admit how much you loved Hyrule Warriors until you had like 100 hours into it. So I'm glad that you've come to terms with the fact that you love Muso.
It's bad on like technical levels. Like it runs at like a buttery smooth 15 frames per second sometimes. The resolution is like GBA levels at
Oh
times.
God, that game is
It
a
looks
technical mess.
it looks bad on handheld, but it's so fun. I love
It
it.
it is it's the demo was a lot of fun. It's actually the first Muso I ever thought like I might buy this. So
Port
I'm
Calamity
into it.
to PS5.
Oh well, um, who knows? I was gonna say it'll never happen, but how many things have I said that about that happened this year? So who knows? Who knows? Well, so that does it for our inaugural All of the Day 2020 awards bonanza. We gave out 9 awards to 9 pretty deserving games. Maybe one of those, maybe not as deserving as the others. I'll let you decide what I'm talking about. Anyways,
Salty.
just a quick recap of our winners. Flop of the year was Crucible. Our Clubhouse game of the year was Yacht. Our The Last of Us 2 Memorial Award for game I never want to hear about again was The Last of Us Part 2. The best delay was Halo Infinite. The best old game, Zero no Kiseki. The scam of the year, Oculus Rift. The Pretty Pictures Award for Cyberpunk. The Squeakquel just squeaking by was Ori and the Will of the Wisps. The Hope for the Future Award went to Deathloop. And that does it for our staff awards. And then next week, we all will determine our top 5 individual awards. And, well, I'm sure that I've given away more than my fair share about what's going to be on mine. But you can tune in next time to see what I and Derek and Setzer, and you can tune in to be appalled when Derek says that Age of Calamity is the best game of 2020, the year of calamity.
May not be, but we'll see.
We'll see. So, gentlemen, it's been a lot of fun.
Yes. You can reach us on email at alltodaypodcast@gmail.com, on Twitter at alltodaypod. This is Derek.
I'm Setzer.
And Cheston.
We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Adios.
Adios.